He watched and waited, a smile unseen on his face, for there was nothing to see. Orcian was one of the best. Of course, being the best spy when you're naturally invisible and have a full suit of clothing which shifts to match your flawless invisibility is rather easy. The upside is that it gave him plenty of wonderful excuse to go to strange places and see strange people. His wives were even understanding about it. He had to serve his home sector after all, make sure that galactic politics were on the up and up, right? He had legal permission to be in the building, but the spying was either something they were ignorant of or so woefully stupid that no one realized the completely invisible man who could hide recording devices in his invisible pockets would defiantly be working as either a spy or working to blackmail government officials. People could just be so dumb when men were involved, even other men. Humans seemed to be no exception. As their ambassador slowly agreed to and debated several points, mostly about the legality of human men being the soldiers and laborers of humanity. The primary sticking point he's using to debate this is that no matter how much they insist that human men not risk themselves, they have little choice and less ability to enforce these rulings in cruel space, where humanity's only actual settlement is located in the form of their homeworld of Earth or Terra or Sol 3 Prime. The fact that the legal framework had expanded to the point that all 4 names needed to be used in official documents was a testament to how bloated and redundant things had grown. Madam Ambassadors, I do appreciate the concern you have for myself and my people. However, to acquiesce to such demands would mean a catastrophic economic and cultural breakdown among my species. Furthermore, even if these risks were not present, I myself am merely the current representative of numerous divided countries and cultures across my homeworld. My primary concern is to bring about peaceful contact with the rest of the galaxy and report back with possible solutions to allow my people to better communicate with the galaxy at large. Yes, and to prevent any of our more exuberant citizens from taking ill-advised courses of action, we have to have some assurances for them. Otherwise, there will be a great deal of difficulty born of concerned citizens obeying what is the proper and just course of law within their own systems. Another ambassador, this Lady A. Tret, goes on about. Dis rolls his imperceptible eyes at this. System laws don't extend beyond system borders, and trying to force it otherwise is legally an act of war. Madam, considering that there is not a single citizen or piece of technology within your systems that can survive prolonged null exposure, a requirement to even get within the same system as Earth, I fail to see how any of your concerned citizens could enforce this will upon humanity. On small pockets, certainly, but attempting to force to confine someone without legal authorization is still kidnapping. Beyond an arrangement system, any attempt to force a human man to capitulate and cease being a productive member of human society is frankly illegal. Yes, but that doesn't mean... The Tret ambassador begins again before the communicator on Admiral Cistern's desk begins to vibrate. The brassy music, revelry, silences everyone else, and he activates the communicator. Admiral Cistern here. I'm currently in a meeting with several ambassadors at the moment, he says. Sorry, sir. There are some things you need to deal with here on the Dauntless, a woman's voice says, and he sighs. Very well. Send it to my private communicator, he says before deactivating the one on his desk. Excuse me, he says, standing and beginning to walk away. Philip, if you could accommodate our guests, my good man, he says. Of course, sir, it would be my pleasure. The stately-looking older man says. Dis slips away after Admiral Cistern as the man walks across the plush carpet to the mirrored door. All rooms in the building are soundproofed by default, so he won't hear a thing if he doesn't get in with the man. A touch of axiom, and for just a moment, he is perhaps a foot ahead of himself. The door closes as the Admiral steps in, and he focuses further. The sheer odds of him being a foot ahead, rather than where he began, grow until they are certain. And he is on the other side of the door, having done a nearly imperceptible short-range teleport. Report, Lieutenant Colonel. Admiral Cistern barks into his personal communicator. What is dioxygen difluoride, and why would the research department be tampering with it? He demands, and Dis is equally confused. Foof? Satan's kimchi? It's how reactive. Are they trying to burn my ship down? He roars into the communicator, and Dis steps far away from the livid man. If he starts thrashing in rage, he does not want to be in swinging distance. Okay, put the fires out. Throw those arsonist idiots into the brig and sit on them until I get back tonight. I will deal with them personally. The enraged admiral states before taking a breath. Any other apocalyptic disasters waiting in the wings? The man goes very, very still at the answer, then starts shaking. What the hell are the humans up to? Are you implying that we have some form of magic mumps jumping around the ship? No? Thank God. All right. Purge it with fire, and throw those idiots in with the arsonists. I'll deal with them as a group. He growls before letting out a breath and composing himself. Why is it that the mentally infirm obsessives on my ship have given me better results with less headaches than my actual accredited scientists? The Admiral listens for a moment before snorting in mild amusement. I'm not sure I wanted an answer to that, but it does make sense. Do we have any other impending disasters? Dis creeps closer to maybe catch whatever's being said on the opposite side as the Admiral receives a lengthy explanation. That's not a disaster, that's the intended result. The Admiral takes some steps away and leans against the desk, getting Des to roll his eyes and begin sneaking up again. Yes, implement stage 2. He says just as Des leans in close to listen with the microphone turned way up. The person on the other end is the same woman that he had heard on the main communicator. I think it should be delayed a few weeks, sir. Give things time to properly process and settle before we stir the pot again. If we do too much at once, they may simply declare our entire species pathologically insane and move to place us all in protective custody. A fair point, Miss Larkin. However, we still have to test the reactions the locals have towards human affairs in order to have a proper grasp of things going forwards. I'm aware, sir. I've already selected who gets shore leave and the restrictions on their behavior. Larkin says from the other side, and Dis wonders exactly what a human woman looks like. Probably like a Tret, exactly like a Tret. The human men could certainly pass for Tret men. Some people were convinced this was a breakaway colony, sending literally all their men in an attempt to mess with the Council. As far as scams go, such an attempt would be unprecedented. But no, there were small physiological differences, mostly in that stink that human men give off. Nasty to him, but apparently it was loaded with pheromones, so it was pure sex and an unending invitation to female senses. Of course, the second big difference was that the humans casually ate poison. Just straight-up poison and chemical weapons in absurd amounts. As his imagination runs wild, Dis completely fails to notice the conversation wrapping up. Admiral Cistern giving him a dirty look out of the corner of his eye and standing up to leave the room. Hello, sir. I do hate to interrupt, but I feel that our guests are growing impatient, Philip says, opening the door. Thank you, Philip. Clean up in here, would you? Admiral Cistern says, stepping out as Philip steps in. Of course, sir. I will do as the butler does and tidy up. The proper old gentleman says as he closes the door. Dis begins slinking around the older man so he can do his teleport and continue to follow the Admiral. Then the old man's hand snaps out and wraps around his throat with brutal force. Now then, young one, perhaps we can have a chat at exactly what you think you're doing. What? Dis chokes out in shock. How had he known? How had he figured him out? The humans were supposed to have little if any skill in axiom use. There's no way he'd be detected. I believe I'll be the one asking questions here, young man, Philip says with an angry glare. Now then? He begins before quickly patting Dis down and finding the recorder. He pulls it out with a flick and sets it to playback. The entire damning recording is played at length before the older man nods and tucks the recorder back into Dis' shirt. If that's all, then you're free to go. And I apologize for the unpleasantness, he says, letting go of Dis' now bruising neck. What? Dis demands. This is not what's supposed to happen when a spy is caught. He can just go? Where are the threats? Where's the danger? What's happening? You're free to go. Cheerio and ta and all the other forms of farewell. Good day, sir, he says, walking back over to the door and placing his hand on the handle. I don't understand. Oh? Then allow me to educate you, young man. You see, we're in the midst of a massive disinformation campaign and your little spy efforts are actually to our advantage. It's really quite simple. How is it to your advantage? Several reasons. First off, You entirely lack any form of context that makes anything you heard damning at all. Secondly, with your technological level, it's considered child's play to splice and modulate voices into any known sample. You can't prove a thing with a voice recording. Furthermore, by allowing you to leave with the information and you, knowing that we're allowing you to leave with the information, it immediately places the whole of it under suspicion. So thank you truly for your assistance, the proper old man says with a little bow. Who are you? Really? Really, I am Sir Philip Bernard Masterson, retired agent from the employ of the Queen of England. I have been pulled from my palatial estate, vast personal wealth, and numerous beloved grandchildren for this one final opportunity to serve Queen and country in a manner that previously was simply not possible. I have set the record for every type of mission prior to my retirement, and now with my reinstatement, I will set the standard for missions such as these. You am the better spy? Yes. Incidentally, would you acquiesce to receiving advice? Okay. Make a point of standing behind furniture or physical objects. Invisibility is an excellent boon, but it does not preclude you from having an impact on the surrounding environment. What? You're leaving footprints in the carpet. Philip says plainly to dumb it down for him. The shifting of the footprints he'd been using to track the young cloaken shift, ever so to show he's indeed looking down. The nervous shuffling of them lets him know that his message has gone across cleanly. Now then, young man, run along and please tell your masters that Sir Philip bids them a good day. The proper old spy says, opening the door and gesturing him to leave. What's going on? One of the ambassadors asks, as Dis walks out in a bit of a daze and simply leaves the ambassador ill-sweet. Nothing to be concerned about, madam. However, I am most concerned that I have let this meeting go on too long without some refreshment. May I offer some herbal teas, perhaps?